Everyone, and welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. For the second day running, we do come earlier than 11 p.m. our usual time for these broadcasts. But yeah, it's good to be here. Why? Because I have some short-term responsibilities to take care of in the next coming hours. So that's why I choose to come earlier than usually expected. So tonight we'll be discussing a lot of breaking news or news coming through from Manchester United, from Chelsea, and much more. As we speak, Aston Villa are leading up against Fenerbahce by a goal to nil. That game was at halftime by the time of preparation for this broadcast. And, you know, um, that goal from Sancho, yes, is what made the difference for the two sides half at time. And now the second half is back underway for majority of those games that are kicked off at 8:45 p.m. So yeah, do indulge me as I have our audios tested just to make sure everything does check out nicely well. But yeah, those will be some of the topics that we'll be covering tonight in our special conversation or coverage for tonight's broadcaster. For those of you that were part of the morning broadcast, thank you so much for making the point to be with us as always. And those new subscribers, thank you and welcome to the community. We welcome you on board, and we hope that you will enjoy your stay with us for the foreseeable future as far as this channel is concerned. I wish to send my special thanks to Team India, all of you that are from India. Thank you so much for the continued love and support. That you've expressed upon me on this channel in terms of watching our content, following what we do, the comments, even those who come with some, exciting comments, I will still take them we still, thank you for choosing to be part of us. So anyways, so that will be the gist of the conversation tonight. Like I've told you, Manchester United have this evening announced that Casemiro will be leaving the club at the end of the season. Yeah, so that's the major news that is coming through from that side. The Brazilian international will be leaving Manchester United at the end of the season. After a period of 4 years with the club, he will be departing or parting ways with the Red Devils. According to an announcement made by the club on their website, they said Casemiro will leave Manchester United this summer upon the expiry of his contract. We know for a fact that they considered moving him only this summer, but did not get the right offers because the player also wanted to stay. That notwithstanding, there was also the alternative. Okay, the idea or what we were getting was that not so many clubs were willing to, sort of put up the money in contractual terms in regards to what would be acceptable or suitable for Casemiro, being one of the top earners at Manchester United at around 350 grand a week, according to multiple reports. So the club went on to say the legendary midfielder has enjoyed 4 seasons at the club, playing 146 games and scoring 21 goals. Now, Casemiro was a part of Manchester United's winning, title-winning sides. They won the EFL Cup in Erik ten Hag's debut season. That was 2022-2023. You remember they beat, I think, Newcastle in the final. He scored in that final, by the way. Then the subsequent season, that very season, they lost to Manchester City in the FA Cup final. Then the subsequent season, they beat Man City to win the Emirates FA Cup final. So he walks away with 2 accolades or 2 medals as a cup winner on his name. Then last season, he helped the club reach the finals of the UEFA Europa League. Nonetheless, they were unable to win that competition as they collapsed or fell to Tottenham Hotspur, who beat them by 1-0, thanks to that goal by Brennan Johnson, who has since, by the way, left Tottenham Hotspur and joined Crystal Palace. So, brilliant stuff there. For those of you that are just joining us, welcome to the channel. Robert Kesakos is my name, and I'm coming to you live from Kampala, Uganda, where it's about 52 minutes past the hour of 9 p.m. East African time. That means 8 minutes to the top of the hour of 10 p.m. In case you're wondering, I want to presume that it's around 6:52 p.m. European time for majority of the, some European countries there, the likes of the UK, with whom we are 3 hours ahead of. So for Turkey, usually our timeline is usually the same, and that kind of thing. So that's while speaking to the to Manchester United website, he said, "I'll carry Manchester United with me throughout my entire life. From the first day I walked out to this beautiful stadium, I felt the passion of Old Trafford and the love that I now share with our supporters for this special club." Remember, he was unveiled as a new Manchester United player back in August 2022. So it's now time to say goodbye, and there are many more memories to create during the next 4 months. That's until the end of the season. He went on to add that we still have a lot to fight for. Together, my complete focus will, as always, remain on giving my everything to help our club succeed. Remember, he's been under the charges of Erik ten Hag, the interim charge of Ruud van Nistelrooy, and then Ruben Amorim, and then now Michael Carrick, who a lot of people seem to think that he could possibly guide Manchester United to a top 4 finish, given that they are just 1 point behind top 4 side Liverpool. At about who Liverpool have 36 points and United have 35 points. So top 4 is well within a reach for Man United. So that responsibility started last weekend when they beat up against Manchester City in the Manchester Derby by 2-0. Could have been more. And that responsibility still continues when they take on Arsenal this weekend at the Emirates Stadium in another huge encounter for the Red Devils. After which they will be at home against Fulham. That will be on Sunday, the 1st of February, in as far as their pursuit for top 4 is concerned. Remember, Manchester United are only playing in that one competition. That's the Premier League. Because at the first time of asking, they got knocked out of the EFL Cup. They got knocked out of the FA Cup at the hands of Grimsby Town and at the hands of Brighton, respectively. Hassan says, Dembana. Good evening, Cedric. How are you doing, my brother? What do you mean by Dembaba? Are you talking about the former Newcastle striker who left them to join Chelsea and helped Chelsea deny Liverpool the possibility of winning a Premier League title back in 2013-2014, that season? So is that the man you're talking about? But good evening to you too. Good evening, Hassan, once again. So really, that's the news stemming out of Old Trafford or Manchester United, that Casemiro, the Brazilian, is set to leave Manchester United. Where are you from, brother? I'm from Kampala, Uganda. Thanks for asking. Where are you from and what team do you support in case you do pay allegiance to football whatsoever there? If you see me keeping my eyes on the screen, that's because I'm trying to follow the events from the game between Fenerbahce and Aston Villa, with Aston Villa leading that game by 1-0. So that is Carlos Henrique Casemiro. He will be leaving Manchester United at the end of the season. By the time he leaves Man United, he will have turned 34 years of age, as he's currently 33. He's had a tremendous career. I remember joined the club in 2022, August, joining in from Real Madrid for about, was it about 60+ million pounds, signed a big, huge contract at the time. Had all night to cry about the defeats of French teams yesterday and Tuesday. Sorry about that, Cedric. I'm from Turkey, and I am supporting Galatasaray. Oh, good to have another person from Turkey supporting Galatasaray. The first person that we had from Turkey who was a usual suspect on this channel, but has since, perhaps I don't know what's happened to him. He's called Safa Ali. He was a Fenerbahce fan, but it's been, I think, close to 2 months ever since I last saw him on the channel. But I pray he's good. I hope he's good there from Turkey. So Galatasaray yesterday shared the spoils in a 1-all draw against Atletico de Madrid, right? An own goal by Marcos Llorente, and then of course Simeone, the goal scorers in that game. So I don't know what feelings you have about that as a Galatasaray fan. What did you make of your game yesterday? You can give us your impressions upon that game from yesterday in as far as that competition is concerned. Anyways, what else? So that's the big news coming out of Manchester United. I don't know, for some reason, I understand why Manchester United have had to make this decision because one, the player is on very huge salary and they are trying to manage their finances. They are trying to cut down on their wage bill, by getting rid of players like Casemiro. Sancho has been within the same spirit, although he's out on loan to Aston Villa. Marcus Rashford on loan to Barcelona. They are covering his salary. So all players, regardless of what you may think about them, one of the major reasons behind their sort of exit or why United are pushing them out is something to do with the money or the salary. Mahaba, bro, this channel is amazing. Our host is a football encyclopedia. Thank you so much, Cedric, for the compliment. But I could continue to. I keep on a learning journey. Every now and then, I keep learning something from all our followers here that engage me in a debate. So, okay, we will leave that at that for in regards to Man United. But before we leave it at that, I for one, I was in the spirit of, I think, if I were Man United, if it had been acceptable in terms of revised terms, I'd keep Casemiro for another year as, a squad player. The way Arsenal, you remember the way Arsenal had signed Jorginho from Chelsea to be a sort of a squad player. He's a senior player, has the experience, help mentor some of the young boys. I know, yes, Kobe Mainoo has played, so many minutes for Man United, played at the Euros until the final. He has some bit of experience, but there's still a lot that he can learn from a player like Casemiro, a UEFA Champions League winner with Real Madrid, and a Brazilian international. So the likes those kinds of young players that you do have within the squad, and then you never know going into next season. What if? And this is a big what if. What if you qualify for the UEFA Champions League, or maybe even if it's not the UEFA Champions League, any competition in Europe, that means your responsibility are going to grow bigger. So I feel that for the player of his experience, they could have still used him for a year or even two, because 34 is not that too big an age. Then the other thing is you look at what they already have within the ranks. You look at Manuel Ugarte, and for me, it doesn't feel like he's clicked into this Man United side. Yes, I understand he was signed last season by Erik ten Hag, who eventually gets sacked, but this is his second season, and I do not think that you and I can sit here and convince each other that we've seen the best of Manuel Ugarte in a Manchester United jersey. He may have had some, few brilliant games here and there, but it's far from convincing or consistent enough for us to be sold that where Casemiro is leaving, he will fill in that void. Now, one would say, Man United, big club, they're going to go out and spend the money. Yes, that's true. And previously, or even concurrently as we speak, they've been linked with a host of, so many central midfielders. So the big question is going to be, who do you bring in to replace Casemiro in that squad? They've been linked with, in the summer, we know they were interested in signing Carlos Baleba, the Cameroon international from Brighton, 21 years of age. They have interest in Elliot Anderson from Nottingham Forest. Remember, Nottingham Forest, I think, This is his second season at Nottingham Forest, having joined them from Newcastle. Then Adam Wharton at Crystal Palace is another name that they've explored. There's another player, also a holding midfielder, I think Lucien Aguema from Sevilla, is it? Yes. I think it should be Sevilla. Lucien Aguema, something like that. Yeah. Is Aguema. Agueme, yes, is the sort of a player that they've looked at. He plays for Valencia, and he's 23 years of age. He was linked with a potential move to Arsenal over the summer, following the departure of Thomas Partey and things like that. Now, again, even if Man United were to go out and get any of those players, chances are, because of what they could cost. For example, Carlos Baleba, by the summer, we're talking about fees in the region of no less than £80 million to about £100 million, bearing in mind that Moises Caicedo left Brighton for Chelsea for about 115. So that was the ballpark they were looking at. Now, Carlos Baleba's form this season has not practically been as good as it was last campaign. So his price tag may have fallen down a little bit. But nonetheless, any player that United signed for that role is likely to cost them anywhere in the ballpark of around £60 million. So the question is, can you afford to spend at least £120 million or £100 million on two players? In other words, you get the primary player and sort of the backup player within the squad. Because, like I've said, I, for one, I'm not yet sold on Manuel Ugarte. Yes, you can give him a third campaign in United colours, but he's not yet proved himself to be reliable, even if it's been cup competition. So that's why, for me, I was saying, if it had been possible, I do not know what discussions have been held behind the scenes, but for me, I would have been of the preference that Manchester United keep, Casemiro for at least another year. That's my feeling or my sentiment about that. But it looks like the club have decided otherwise. With the party involved. Hassan says, I'm worried for next match, Manchester City. Manchester City's next game is against Wolverhampton Wanderers at the Etihad Stadium. Given Manchester City's recent form, I understand the cause for concern or for the worry. Okay, then Hassan said, I think Galatasaray can win in the last minutes of a second half if Gabriel Sara pass the ball to Emali can make a goal, but Salah didn't pass the ball to Emali. He shot, then Oblak saved the ball. I mean, forward players are known to be selfish, so sometimes those things happen, or they have lapses in judgment. Hassan says, sorry for my bad English. It's all right, Hassan. I understand English is not your first language or your primary language. Neither is it mine. Only that it's our official language, having been colonized by the British. So, at least I'm fairly good or really good with the language. Not excellent, but really good. That's where I would place myself at. So I never scold anyone or blame anybody for failing to know a language. People have come onto the broadcast and after comments in Espanol, in Mexican, in Russian, in Chinese, and I didn't know either of those languages. So I cannot fault them for not knowing English because it's my comfort and it's not theirs. So for as long as somebody tries to construct a sentence that I can, for whose gist of the conversation I can pick out, I'm good to go. I have so many fans who join me on the forum from India, and thank you so much, Team India, that follow the channel, and their English is not at the best, but I cannot hold it against them for not knowing good English. So it's all good in that regard. So you're saying about, okay. Let's wrap up Man United and then look at your comment about Manchester City a little more. So for me, Man United, those are my feelings. Now, in regards to Elliot Anderson, Adam, and Carlos Baleba, who would I choose for Man United player? First of all, forgive my prejudice on this one, but knowing Man United and the historical context with how they usually deal with it, they are more likely to sign Elliot Anderson or Adam Wharton before they make a move for Baleba or Lucien Agum. Now, Why? Because as you've observed over the years, they tend to have a preference for English players. They will know for a fact that signing Carlos Baleba also comes with the risk of having him not for a period of a month when AFCON comes. And as you know, we're going to have AFCON 2027. That's a year from now or so. Then we'll have AFCON 2028. Why? Because they've changed the formats from 2 years to 4 years. So that means for 2 consecutive years, if you sign Carlos Baleba, you'll be without him for 2 months, for a month each, respectively. So that would be something that they get to think about. So in the grand scheme of things, he is a brilliant young player. He still has a room for improvement or development, but I think that could be what they tilt towards. Samanda's, you typed a comment, but I don't understand the language in which you typed the comment. But thank you so much for joining the broadcast. Kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here. So for me, that's how I'd look at it. Now, when it comes to Elliot Anderson, he's also been linked with the potential move to Manchester City, so there will be competition for him in that regard. And for any player holding midfielder that Man United are going to try to make a move for, bear in mind there will always be competition because they want to go for the topmost players, and other clubs are usually interested. The other player that they are interested in is Ruben Neves, a former Wolverhampton Wanderers captain. He's playing at Al Hilal, but I understand he has about 6 or less months left to his current contract, and he's considering a return to European football after that stint in Saudi Pro League. Now, if Manchester United, it's a no-brainer for a player like Ruben Neves. 1, has Premier League experience. 2, he has experience given his age. 3, he's a starter with the Portuguese national team. Very, very decent player. A workaholic, box-to-box kind of player. So I can imagine the situation where you have him, playing in there with Kobe Mainu. You can play him as a 6. You can play him as an 8. Although he performs better as an 8. So that means you get Ruben Neves, you get yourself an Adam Wharton or an Elliot Anderson, who equally Elliot Anderson is more of an 8, by the way. But whichever the case is, please. That's what you should expect. Now, going back to thank you, Samanda. Samanda, for you say quota basbana. Sorry, say kotak basban. Please, I do not know what that means. I hope it's not insulting anybody. Really. Okay, going back to Hassan's submission, said he's worried about their match next week for their next match for Manchester City. Now, like I said, Manchester City. I understand. I understand what he's trying to mean. Now, Man City's next game is against Wolverhampton Wanderers, after which they'll play his club Galatasaray. Samada says thank you. Meanwhile, Pedro is also has joined us. I like your cut. Thank you so much. Thank you, bro. Okay, so Hassan, yes, Galatasaray have a date with Manchester City for the final game of the UEFA Champions League. That's next week on Wednesday. Now, guys, remember, all UEFA Champions League games for match day 8 will be played next week on Wednesday, the 28th of January, same kickoff time, 11 p.m. East African time. Why? Because it's the final game of the group stages. So to avoid match fixing, there won't be games played earlier. All games will be played at the same time. So please keep that in mind as you look forward to watching some of those big games. So Man City Galatasaray won't be an easy game given Manchester City's recent form. In the Premier League, they are winless in the last 4, 3 draws and 1 defeat to Man City. Then they went on and lost to Bodo Glimt, for which they've apologized to the fans. The 3 club captains in Bernardo Silva, brought Erling Haaland, and Ruben Diaz issued a statement in which they contributed each at least, I think all of them contributed about £10,000 to form a refund for the fans, about 300 something Manchester City fans that traveled for that game in Norway. I don't say the thing Samada told you to say. Like I said, I do not know what it means. I only hope it's not an insult. Plenty of times people have come here and put comments forward in a different language, ask me to read the comment. And for purposes of trying to learn a language, I do read the comment for what it is, but I put the disclaimer of not knowing what that implies. I can only hope it's not insulting to anybody. Then you say Manchester City wants to be in the first 8 and the game will be played in Manchester City Stadium. I hope we do not lose the game. Again, Manchester City can be a very brilliant team on any given day. It is true they will be fighting. It is true that the comment above, I've read it, Mr. Tribe. Do not say the thing. I read that, Pedri. So, yes, Man City want to be to finish in the top 8. They want to finish in the top 8. That's true. That's the objective. Most teams want to. Yijit says, nice job. Thank you so much, Yijit. So just as much as Man City want that game, is the same way Galatasaray want that game. Let's not forget, Galatasaray this season have already beaten an English Premier League team. They beat Liverpool by 1-0. Now, given Manchester City's recent form, I wouldn't take them any less serious or any less big a competitor, any less serious a team. But if I'm Galatasaray, I'm thinking I may have a chance against this Manchester City team because they have not been as good as ordinarily we are accustomed to them being. Why? For some reason, they've fallen off the wagon. They struggled to win games in January. In the Premier League, they've not won a single game in January. Like I've told you, 3 draws against Chelsea, against Sunderland, and against Brighton. Then they lost to Man United over the weekend. They won against Newcastle. That is the first leg of the semi-finals of the EFL Cup by 2-0. Then they beat up against Exeter City in the in the FA Cup third round by 10-1. And then that's it. They've lost their game against Bodo Glimt in the UEFA Champions League. So things have not been pretty for them. Of course, they have so many injuries on their roster. I think last I checked, they had about anywhere between 9 and 11 injuries to their roster, including their senior defenders in Ruben Diaz, Joshko Vardiol. All those have been out through injury. So it really, really worked to their disadvantage that they had as that many players. Mateo Kovacic, John Stones, Oscar Bob, Savinho, Nico Gonzalez was out with a knock. Matheus Nunes has been out. So really, all those players have been out through injuries or illness, and it did not help their efforts in this bit of a bad spell. But since then, they've also added some strength to their side in Antoine Semenyo from AFC Bournemouth for about 62.5 million pounds. And then they've added, a Mackay from Crystal Palace for about 20 million pounds. The thing he told you to say means, oh, I understand. You don't need to complete the comment. Well, that's like I said. I apologize for any comment I may read in a foreign language for whose meaning I may not know. And thank you so much, Pedri, for always coming to help us with the language barriers. That's what it means in Uzbekistan. Okay, apologies on that. I just read it for the comment that it was, without knowing what it meant. So if you're Galatasaray, you're going to leverage on a weekend defense. Maybe by that time, Man City may have registered Mackay to represent them in the UEFA Champions League. Then, of course, they've been playing with the 20-year-old Max Alenya, and then Kushonov in that defense. Rico Ruiz has been playing at right back, Ryan Atnori at left back. So that defense is a defense that you can attack and score against. The midfield was shambolic. If you can target Rodri is going to be absent for that particular game. Why? Because he got a red card in that game against Bodo Glimt. So really, it gives you the chance. If you're Galatasaray, you ought to fancy your chances. And when you come up against a team like Manchester City, in that game. So my feeling about it is that Galatasaray, if they do come with belief and conviction that they can win, they can win that game or at least pick up a point or avoid defeat. So really, you have every reason to worry because of Man City's experience, 2023 champions of the UEFA Champions League and things like that. They've had some good moments in the UEFA Champions League this season already. So I understand the cause for concern. But yeah, that's my impressions or feeling about that. But you can trust that Victor Osimhen can possibly inspire you to a victory now that he's returned from the Africa Cup of Nations. Really. Anyways, let's move on because in the other topic, I can't say I'm surprised, but maybe slightly. Chelsea are interested in signing Douglas Luiz on loan. Remember, Douglas Luiz is a Juventus player who they signed last season, at the start of last season, from Aston Villa for about 50 million euros. His first season did not really work out, suffered a great deal of injuries, ended up, being loaned out to Nottingham Forest. His loan spell didn't seem to be working. I think the player was recalled. Now Chelsea are considering signing him on loan. And however, they are not the only ones interested because, but that's according to the Athletic, that Chelsea want to sign him on loan. Now, Aston Villa, his former club, are also interested in taking him back. They are interested in taking him back on loan. So according to Fabrizio Romano, Chelsea and Aston Villa are both considering a loan move for Douglas Luiz. Genuine interest as Nottingham Forest can't let Luiz go back to Juventus and join a new club on loan. Genuine interest as Nottingham Forest can let Luiz leave, go back to Juventus and join a new club. So those are the reports that we are getting. But that story was broken by David Austin, of the Athletic, about Chelsea's interest in Douglas Luiz. Now, if Chelsea, why would you be interested in Douglas Luiz? He's come back to Nottingham Forest. He's not done any wonders. That he's had a tremendous season to this point that he could cause you to ponder that possibility, especially when you have Moises Caicedo, when you have Dario Esugo, when you have Romeo Lavia. I understand Romeo Lavia spends a lot of time out through injury, and Dario Esugo at some point was injured. But you have Enzo Fernandez, and I'm talking about all players that have the capability of playing in that deep lying role. You have Richard James, who you've constantly played as the second pivot, and he's proven himself that he can play in that role. And then you also look at Andre Santos. He's okay. Now, when you look at Andre Santos, Richard James, and Enzo Fernandez, they're not natural central midfielders in terms of the number 6 of the pivot, but they can play there. So I'm thinking to myself, why do Chelsea think they need to go and sign Douglas Luiz? But anyways, it's Chelsea. They're capable of signing anybody. They're always interested in somebody, in everybody and nobody almost. So it is what it is. Then we'll leave it at that. Nottingham Forest did agree a deal to sign Luca Lorenzo from Napoli. On loan for the rest of the season. Hello, Daniel Tuton. How are you, my brother? So now, again, Luca Lorenzo, this is a player that Napoli signed on loan with an obligation to buy for about 40 million euros from, was it Udinese? In their search for a striker before they got Rasmus Højlund from Man United. So you said, sorry, I have not been here for a long time. Understandable. How are you? I'm all right. Daniel Tuton. Always a pleasure to see you around. So I'm thinking to myself, what's gone so bad at Napoli? Of course, he fell behind the pecking order but I need to go for training, Sons Academy. Good luck, Daniel. So I'm thinking to myself, what's gone so bad? Now, for Nottingham Forest, of course, there's need because Chris Wood suffered that injury and is out of action. Timothy Awoniyi has not been at it, so they need somebody in that role. So they do have Igor Jesus. but they feel Shondai feels he needs somebody there. So that's it. But again, there's a buy option clause, not mandatory, worth 40 million euros. Same package that Napoli negotiated basically when signing him, and it looks like it's not worked out for him. Anyways, that's the deal. Then Crystal Palace did hold talks with Wolves over the possible signing of Jürgen Strand-Larsen for players valued at around 40 million pounds. Now, again, unless Wolverhampton Wanderers are telling us that they've lost the conviction of the possibility of staying up in the Premier League, I can't tell you where my house is, but I'm from Kampala, Uganda. Thanks for asking. Itachui, Chicha. So that's I'm thinking to myself, you cannot, even Leeds United are interested in Jürgen Strand-Larsen. Brilliant striker there. But Wolves, you can, you're from India. Thank you so much, Team India. Thank you so much. Much love to India. So if you're Wolves, I'm thinking you're from Pakistan. You're to our neighbors, even though you're always bickering. Much love to Pakistan. Now, Wolves, unless you're telling the world that you've given up on fighting to stay, perhaps you're from the entirety of Asia. Unless you're telling the world that you've given up on the possibility of staying in the top flight or fighting for it, then, it is what it is. But there's strong interest from Crystal Palace. Why is there strong interest from Crystal Palace? It's because a couple of days ago, Jean-Philippe Mateta asked to leave the club. Juventus are interested, Napoli are interested, and then Aston Villa are interested in signing the 28-year-old French striker, Jean-Philippe Mateta. So that means if Crystal Palace are serious about Jürgen Strand-Larsen, there's a huge possibility that perhaps Jean-Philippe Mateta leaves before the end of the season. He's open to a Premier League move, as he is open to any move in Italy. Contract negotiations between Jean-Philippe Mateta and the Eagles did stall and yielded no success at that point. So he's asked the club to leave. So anyways, that's that. Then in other news, this is not transfer. Okay, in other transfer news, according to Ben Jacobs, as discussed, about a year ago, Saudi dealmakers are still interested in signing Vinicius Jr. They are still eyeing him for the summer of 2026 after the World Cup. Now, whereas the Vinicius Jr. recently said in the aftermath of the 6-1 victory against AC Monaco, he did say that he is committed to staying at Real Madrid. He's happy, he wants to stay, and he loves the club, and he understands contract negotiations continue, and he says they will get to the bottom of that matter soon or later through his representatives. Now, according to Ben Jacobs, Al Ahly, the main Saudi club, discussed Vinicius Jr. with a €1 billion contract offer. Now, guys, I don't care how much you love football. If you're Vinicius Jr., if you're a player from Brazil, unless you're from the oligarchs or from the oligarch families of Brazil, this is an offer you cannot ignore. I mean, €1 billion. Can you imagine? That's enough money to build an entire village. So, if you're Vini Jr. and you're a household name in Brazil, I mean, that's money that can change your life. You've been at Real Madrid for some good time. You've won it all. You've won La Liga. You've won the Champions League. You've won it all that there is to win with Real Madrid. And it's the best club in the world. You've played for it. For what? Good 6 years? With €1 billion in a contract offer, trust me, I am blinking. because that's tremendous amount of money. That's money that doesn't change your life, but that's money that changes the life of your entire clan, not even just a family, entire clan. Already is earning a lot of money, good money at Real Madrid. And you'd say he's comfortable, he's okay, or perhaps even maybe rich. But 1 billion euros worth of a contract, that what takes you from rich to wealthy. So for me, it's all about the money. Although Vinicius Jr. has said repeatedly he's committed to Real Madrid, talks between Saudi officials and Vini Jr.'s camp have been ongoing for over a year now. That's according to Ben Jacobs. Anyways, and then for the Arsenal fans, there's some exciting news. According to online reports, Ricardo Carafiori is back in training ahead of their game on Super Sunday against Manchester United. Now, a lot of questions have been raised or asked. Who do Arsenal put at left back? The possibility of the discussions that have been ongoing online have largely tilted towards Julian Timber playing at left back and then Ben White plays at right back. But now with Ricardo Carafiori returning, the question is, do you risk him? He's fresh from injury. Do you take him down the course of Christian Mosquera, who fresh from injury was tossed into the deep end to start against Inter Milan? Or do you bear in mind that given Carafiori's history with injuries, it's too big a risk to carry, bearing in mind that you only halfway the season and you could still really, really need him. So it's really I don't know, how do I put it? It's a bit of a conundrum for Mikel Arteta to be in, because even if the medical team pass him, I find Ricardo Carafiori too risky, a little bit too risky. He's that kind of player that is so prone to injury that while for a good part of the season he's remained fit and good enough to play, it's always felt that he's one bad misstep away from an injury. And even when he got injured, we were always under the impression, oh, it's not going to be, that long, that bad. But it turned out to be bad. It turned out to be bad. So it's a bit of a risk, but let's see. We'll hear from Mikel Arteta possibly tomorrow ahead of that fixture. Ahead of that fixture. We'll see. We'll see. Let's wait and see what will happen, or what will be coming our way in as far as injury updates go with that. So then Juventus, this is according to Eurofoot, they said Juventus have agreed a deal to sign Yusuf El Nasiri from Fenerbahce on loan. Loan transfer is about 5 million euros plus a buy option of about 19 million euros plus 3 million euros in bonuses. Italian club now awaiting response from the player there. Now, again, you remember yesterday I asked what happened to Dusan Vlahovic? Because really they have Jonathan David. They don't feel Jonathan David and Dusan Vlahovic are enough. So they are pondering on things. Then, according to the Athletic, John Stones is likely to leave Manchester City on a free transfer when his contract expires in the summer. I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. Very injury-prone player. He's a good defender, but oftentimes injuries have got in the way of his career. Guys, I've just read a comment. It's funny, and it's according to the Obione podcast. They're quoting Diego Costa on Antonio Conte. He said he probably doesn't have enough sex at home because he's a very bitter guy. Wow. Wow. Anyways, tremendous stuff. Tremendous stuff. Um, okay. So ahead of the weekend, and I know we'll get to discuss this possibly tomorrow, Mikel Arteta faces a conundrum of he will face a conundrum over the striking situation where he has to ponder whether it's Victor Gyökeres or Gabriel Jesus that starts over the weekend. Because it's a bit of a less ideal situation for him. He gave Gabriel Jesus minutes, and in that game against Inter Milan, and he scored a brace. Then Victor Gyökeres comes on and he scores a brilliant goal. Now, for as long as Gyökeres has been fit, he's been the player to start at the tip of the attack for the Arsenal throughout this Premier League campaign. But that Aston Villa game, I went to Villa Park where he had just returned from injury, that they started with Mikel Merino. So other than that, he's been the go-to guy for Mikel Arteta in as far as their striking line is concerned. Now, you have Gabriel Jesus, who had a brilliant game against Inter Milan, counter press, hold up play, squad a brace. He gives you something to ponder about. Last season, when United played at the Emirates, when Arsenal won that game by 3-1, he did score. He scored in the 11th minute of stoppage time after Declan Rice had scored to make it 2-1 in the 6th minute of stoppage time when the goal had been 1-1. At the time, that famous game for literally Gabriel Magalhaes ducking Alejandro Garnacho to put him in an offside position for what would have been Man United's second goal. So, yeah, Mikel Arteta has some decisions to make. But I don't know what will happen over the weekend. But Arsenal cannot afford to lose that game. That's all I can say. Manchester United will come with typical counter-attacking football. That's what they will look to deploy against Arsenal, knowing that they can be vulnerable to that. So Arsenal will need to find means to counter that. How they deployed themselves against Manchester City was very, very effective. The way they beat Man City's counter press by widening gaps between their own players, then by concentrating play on one side of the pitch and then switching play to another to sort of have an isolation of Man City defenders. So it's a tactic that really, really worked well. I know that for a fact that over the years, Arsenal have suffered against teams that play counter-attack football, because what counter-attack teams let you do is that they let you have the ball, you attack them, and then as soon as they win it, they go for that long pass. United have constantly done that against Arsenal. Go back to all the goals that Marcus Rashford has scored against Arsenal, and you see typically the same story in regards to that, or to that effect. So it's a big one for Mikel Arteta to try and stop. They'll pride themselves in having done fairly well at home this season because they've had 2 draws against Liverpool, goalless draw, and against Manchester City, 1-1 draw in as far as their home fixtures are concerned. So they've done fairly well. Anyways, as we speak, most of these games are in the 90-plus minutes. Bologna and Celtic is 2-2. Brann at 2. Midtjylland at 3-2 ahead of Brann. Fenerbahce still a goal behind against Aston Villa. Feyenoord at 3-0 up against Sturm Graz. Freiburg are leading Maccabi Tel Aviv by a goal to nil. Maramo a goal behind against Crvena Zvezda. PAOK FC at 2-0 up against Royal Betis. Victoria Pilsen are 1-0 up against FC Porto. Young Boys are 1-0 behind against Lyon. In the games that kick off at 11 p.m., AC Roma will be up against VfB Stuttgart. Celta Vigo take on Lille. Dynamo Zagreb up against FCSB. FC Salzburg up against FC Basel. Utrecht take on Genk. French Varos take on Panathinaikos. Nice up against Go Ahead Eagles. Rangers take on Ludogorets, while AC Braga take on Nottingham Forest. So those are the games to come your way in the UEFA Europa League at 11 p.m. East African time. So do not miss out on more of that action from the UEFA Europa League for those of you that may be interested in having that action. Otherwise, allow me to say thank you so much to Hassan. Thank you so much, Cedric. Thank you so much, Samada. Thank you so much, Pedri. Thank you so much, Itachi Chicha from India, I would assume. Thank you so much for having been part of this podcast. Thank you so much for your engagement, your contribution, and for dedicating the time to watch or follow our conversations and what we do here on the Football Tribe UG channel. Be rest assured, we'll be back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. East African time, possibly 9:30, to discuss more of the result, to discuss some of the results from the UEFA Europa League, but also to look forward to what's to come in as far as the weekend will be giving us as the Premier League goes to match day 23. Yeah, Robert K. Sarkos has been your usual suspect on the channel. Thank you and have a blessed night. Bye-bye for now.